This is Politics Now with me, Trudy McIntosh, Andrew Clennell, and we're joined by Zoe McKenzie, Liberal MP, member for Flinders. Good to see you. Things have shifted quite a bit today, a bit of momentum back on the opposition side with a real further mishandling of the immigration issue by the government.
Well, that's the joy of estimates, right? You actually get a chance to really grill the government, to grill the officials, to find out, what's happened since last time we had a chance to really investigate this issue. You will recall we were all brought back for a kind of emergency sitting at the end of last year. We felt we'd done the right thing. We'd made people feel safe over summer, only to find now that 18 of them have been charged and not a single detention application made by this government.
What is with that? Why wouldn't there have been at least one or handful of applications? You'd think that'd be a top priority.
Pretty much every question we asked in question time today was exactly that question, right? There was nowhere to duck, nowhere to hide. Dan got up and asked the same thing time after time after time. How many of them are actually out of the community at the moment to make people feel safe, going through all the different offences, the murders, the sex offences, the drug trafficking, and yet no one behind bars.
What did you think of the performance of the minister or non-performance?
It's never a good day, right, when you're the guy who gets asked all the questions in that respect. But at the same time, we're no clearer, right? We're no clearer as to why. We're no clearer as to what's going on. We're no clearer as to whether they're wearing ankle bracelets. So I didn't actually hear an answer in relation to any of the pretty simple questions.
So I imagine they could argue Scott Morrison, when he was minister, he used to go on about water matters, didn't talk about this operational stuff either. What would be your response to that?
Oh, well, I think you can explain to people that you've taken appropriate measures to keep them safe. I didn't even hear that, right? As a basic reassurance of the public that these matters are being handled and that we are confident in community safety. I didn't even hear a simple
Do you think this bloke's up to the job?
Andrew, I do feel for him, I must admit. He does seem to be under a lot of pressure, Andrew. I'm not going to tell the Prime Minister how to do his lineup.
Is this an issue that's ever raised with you in your electorate, though? How much does this actually cut through?
Oh, yeah, especially last year, like when they were all released, and then there was a question of whether they all needed to be released, right? That particular decision of the High Court was about one particular detainee. And then the next thing we know, we've got 150 people let out. In terms of my electorate, yes, of course, there's always a concern about safety. As we speak, I've got a house bombarded, lockdown in Mornington with a bomb threat. People want to feel safe. Yeah. Even the Mornington Peninsula, you're a good 80 kilometres from town, but safety's non-negotiable.
And on your side of the house, Barnaby Joyce lying in the gutter, what's his future, do you think?
Oh, look, I think Barnaby, has explained himself this morning. Let's say the leitmotif out of the morning was when the doctor tells you not to have a drink with whatever you're taking, maybe don't have a drink with whatever you're taking. But I think he's taken that one to heart. He seems to be giving a good explanation to his colleagues, and let's hope better days ahead.
Do you think, though, if this was a government minister in the same position, that they wouldn't have had to resign by the day after that came out?
Oh, look, it all depends on what's going on. I think, as was discussed on the weekend, I think indeed on your show, we're quick to judge people, we're quick to draw conclusions. Let the bloke explain himself. Let the bloke get upright, so to speak, and go from there.
And he's on medication, as you said.
Yeah.
Follow the rules on the box.
Follow the instructions.
That's important to do. I want to ask you.
And it's Febfast. Febfast is good. Half of us are doing it.
Yeah,
but we're doing it.
I'm not. But anyway, let's move on to the polling by Redbridge, which shows this is just lots of numbers in this poll from the weekend, but one of them, the atypical voter of concern for this government's a 40-year-old woman, the outer suburbs, trying to keep her family's budget and household affairs afloat amid the cost of living crisis. What's your read on that? Because your seat of Flinders is on the outer fringes of Melbourne. What's your read on that analysis by Redbridge?
Absolutely. Well, interesting analysis, but let me tell you, to buy property in my electorate is not easy, right? So even in the most working areas, you still need 150, 160 to be able to buy a house. That takes years and years and years of saving. If you're a 40-year-old woman with a couple of kids, it's 9, 10, 12 years of saving before you get there, right? Except that Albo's made it harder.
Not many people would be saving
right? But you've got to save for the 20% deposit. It's really hard just to get there. Some people, to get ahead, they might buy a really small apartment somewhere, right, just as a way of getting ahead. When you look at the data as to who has negative geared, it's more often mums and dads, it's nurses, it's teachers, it's coppers, right? They're just trying to get a foot into the real estate market before they can actually sell that and then upgrade to something that's good for the home. And so to wipe that out, and I think COS's poll pretty much said that, let's go cold turkey and no negative gearing from tomorrow. So it's unsurprising that 39% were opposed. You know, that's the people who get hit. And what would you do? You'd leave a market open for kind of big investors, superannuation firms, to come and clean up. So you won't necessarily have more cheaper property on the market for anyone to buy. You'll just have different owners of hundreds of properties.
So putting you in the spot, backbencher here, what is the answer to, you know, young people getting into the market?
Supply, 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 supply. Incentivisation for supply as much as we can possibly do.
So just keep growing as a nation, more and more people, and just build more houses.
We're going to have to. Look, if you look at the rental market at the moment, it's so tight, particularly across Melbourne, but it's really tight in my electorate. Interestingly, you know, there was a talk before about getting more property on the market. Many people have second homes in my electorate. They're not going to put them on the rental. Yeah, they're not going to put them on the rental market. Land tax is excruciating. You could never charge people enough rent to cover your taxes. If you can afford a second property in my electorate, it's just because you've had it forever. It's for your family. Everyone enjoys it. Everyone shares it. But it's not going to put another house back on the market.
But beyond supply, do the Liberals and the Coalition need to take a housing policy targeted at that cohort to the next election? Not just super for housing, we've heard that before, something else that would entice that cohort.
But Trudy, that cohort is the kind of median Australian now. The average Australian is a 30 or 40-year-old woman. So we actually have to take policies across the board to that demographic.
Zoe McKenzie.